I hung out a bit on Twitter for the last debate between Obama and Romney. I'll share some of the thoughts I had on there with you and some thoughts I didn't express on Twitter, like how I totally agree with Obama on reducing our inventory of nukes. Of course, my way of reducing the nukes we have would be by deploying them on nations that harbor militants that murder American citizens. What? What's that you say? 4 Americans were murdered? Perhaps we should call the UN. What's up, Un? Hey, you know how it would really tickle your pickle if we reduced our nukes? Well, you're in for a treat.
I think what's happening. Propaganda.
What? Iran wants nuclear power? Sure, man. America's a very generous country. You can have one of ours. We heard that stuff you said about Israel. Not very nice. Speaking of nukes, the last debate wasn't quite the nuking that Obama got in the first debate. Obama survived that nuclear assault, though, with the resilience of a radioactive cockroach. No, I am not calling Obama a cockroach. I'm comparing the resilience. Don't get it twisted. Seriously. It's more of a compliment. Obama still hasn't beaten Romney in a debate, though, but Obama was determined not to take that whooping he got in that first debate. And in this last debate, he watched Romney like a teleprompter. He learned from that first debate. Too bad he hasn't learned from the last 4 years of his failed liberal policies. Anyway, here's some of the stuff that I thought was really weird.
In addition, we're now able to transition out of Afghanistan in a responsible way, making sure that Afghans take responsibility for their own security.
Liberals are always talking about how places like Afghanistan can and should be handling their own military and policing affairs. Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. But liberals don't even have that confidence in our own military. If they don't think that the American military can do the job, what do they expect the Afghan military to do? Or in that same vein, Obama talks about how Syria could determine their own future.
But ultimately, Syrians are going to have to determine their own future.
But you don't even trust Americans to determine their own future. And that health care bill that you want is a big example of how the government will have dug deep into determining our future. So I would appreciate it if you would take that rubber glove off and stop viewing America as a colonoscopy patient. Let me see what America's got in there for me to take. I like how Romney just got a hood on Obama when he tried to get all interrupty like Joe Biden.
But I'll respond to a couple of things you mentioned. First of all, Russia, I indicated, is a geopolitical foe. Not a,
Number one,
excuse me, it's a geopolitical foe.
Dang, I even started tweeting more quietly when Romney checked him like that. He became like Macho Mormon. It was awesome. Like this right here.
Russia does continue to battle us in the UN time and time again. I have clear eyes on this. I'm not going to wear rose-colored glasses when it comes to Russia or Mr. Putin, and I'm certainly not going to say to him, I'll give him more flexibility after the election.
That's Romney saying, I got more hair on my knuckles than you do on your chest, son. And the idea of Obama being more flexible is kind of scary considering that forward-leaning flexibility he seems so capable of. It's sad that Obama can say stuff like this with a straight face.
We've done experiments in nation building in places like Iraq and Afghanistan, and we've neglected, for example, developing our own economy.
Neglected business building here? Pfft, more like sabotaged it. Our companies don't just ship jobs overseas because they feel like it. They do it because policies like yours drive them out. But of course, Obama doesn't see that truth. He sees what he wants to see. Like this, for example.
The world needs a strong America, and it is stronger now than when I came into office.
Obama thinks our country is stronger now. And I say that the only thing strong about that notion is Obama's denial. Romney wants a more fortified military. And Schieffer asks, where do we get the money for that?
Governor, you say you want a bigger military. You want a bigger Navy. You don't want to cut defense spending. What I want to ask you, we're talking about financial problems in this country. Where are you going to get the money?
Liberals don't seem to ask where are we going to get the money to pay for unconstitutional things like socialized health care, but when it comes to the government's actual job, which is to provide a military, it's always, where do we get the money for that? Can't you have a bake sale or something? Then, I guess Obama was trying to channel some of his inner Jon Stewart when he tried to pull this one.
Well, Governor, we also have fewer horses and bayonets because the nature of our military has changed. We have these things called aircraft carriers where planes land on them. We have these ships that go underwater, nuclear submarines. And so the question is not a game of battleship where we're counting ships.
That was a petty, sad point. That was a stretch on level with silly putty.
The disagreement I have with Governor Romney is that during the course of this campaign, he's often talked as if we should take premature military action. I think that would be a mistake.
Premature actions are bad, huh? Yeah, let's put the Trojan on after getting herpes.
And I make that point because that's the kind of clarity of leadership, and those decisions are not always popular.
If those decisions aren't that popular, why does he keep bragging about it as if it was? And why do you brag about killing Osama bin Laden when you oppose the methods that help to get the info about his whereabouts? Here's some more weird stuff.
As long as I'm president of the United States, Iran will not get a nuclear weapon. I made that clear when I came into office. We then organized the strongest coalition and the strongest sanctions against Iran in history.
How can we put pressure on the Middle East oil producers when energy policies like yours keep us dependent on Middle East oil producers? That's kind of weird. Like this.
That will not help us compete with China. Bringing down our deficit by adding $7 trillion of tax cuts and military spending that our military is not asking for, before we even get to the debt that we currently have, that is not going to make us more competitive.
That's right, China. We're going to compete with you. We just need to borrow some more of your money to do it with. I'm Alfonso Rachel with ZoNation, and jumping Jehoshaphat. Election day is like less than 2 weeks away. What's up, Un?